Cody, appreciate you making time.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing well. How is Liberty? As a father of a little girl myself, one time little, I walked her down the aisle last month. I know the love and pride of having a daughter, so congrats to you. How is Liberty doing?
So, you mentioned the love and the pride and like two perfect words for it. And of course, you're told how great it's going to be. And you're told. But the reality hits you right in the face when you see her. And that's all kind of my days are wrapped around, is even with all the work and the schedule being as busy as it is, it's kind of getting back to Liberty. And it's changed my outlook on everything. And, it's even in the most tumultuous, professionally as busy as I've ever been, I've never been more motivated because it's a legacy we're trying to leave for her. So, as you said, you get it. Really special.
Yeah. Road to the Top, Wednesday night at 10, the latest project, and we're going to get to that. But I was talking about you coming on the show, and I mentioned, Cody, you're being pro wrestling royalty. Your intro on AEW even says there's more than one family, but you're also a self-made guy as a Georgia State champion. But when you're growing up in a family of professional wrestlers known around the world, when did you first realize that your dad was famous?
Well, he was at the end of his career when I was born. He had me when he was 39, and he was the executive producer at TBS. So I would go to the shows with him, and it was when I got around those shows that it was more of seeing the respect of the guys I was fans of, Sting, Brad Armstrong, my brother, how they would kind of revere my dad and speak with my dad and respect him. And then they'd go out and get these massive pops and these, UTC and these southern markets and all this. And I just knew he had this element of respect. And it was around that time that, good old Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, one or the other, had a great VHS collection of all these old Jim Crockett promotion tapes. And then we had some in the house as well. And it really was extremely eye-opening, not just to see him on the cover of those, but to see, like The Gathering, Starcade The Gathering, and Great American Bash. And it all, I got a crash course in it right around that elementary school time as to how much of an impact he made in the wrestling business.
I can only imagine. And then you talk about your brother as well as you're coming up, that you're seeing him on TV. So was it more seeing Dustin at first that you thought, I guess as a kid, Dustin's the star and Dad is working in the background, and then all of a sudden washes over you, wow, this is something a lot more?
Yeah, I mean, I Sting and Dustin were great examples of people that I almost looked at my dad as more of a coach type individual. And I'll never forget leaving the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia. Now it's State Farm, but it's the same building, really.
Sure.
Leaving the Omni and all these fans giving my dad a warmer reception than some of the wrestlers. And they just had that love and they had that remembrance. And other people's parents and how they would react, especially when I was a little amateur wrestler and, other people's parents, you'd think their kid was wrestling Dusty himself. There was some adversarial, there's some adversarial elements to it as well. But I adjusted, it's a very, I don't want to say difficult, but it is a unique adjustment for a second or third generation, one that my daughter will likely experience. And I've seen a lot of people crumble under that pressure or wither in that shadow. And it's difficult, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Something you said in there about your dad being like a coach, I can see it in the character that Arn is playing in AEW now. Like I said, Roads to the Top, Wednesday night, 10 o'clock. You talk about preparing Liberty for that. I mean, you met your wife on the job. I experienced the same thing in my job. My wife is my right hand. She's my producer. She's my co-host. She helps me in everything that I do. Talk about that from your perspective, how special that relationship is that you can share every aspect of your life with somebody. I think we're both very fortunate guys.
Well, I think the idea of, there's like kind of these archetypes and pre-constructed thoughts on what marriage is and keeping, personal life and professional life separate. But in the case of my wife, and it will sound similar to you, we were more of a team. Of course, we're a couple and we're married, but we also, this household has a very team culture to it. But my wife supports everything I do more than I support my own stuff. And then I support her stuff, with more passion than my own stuff. It's that care about each other. My mom has really recognized it and identified it. It's so different than other couples, but I'm with my wife 24/7, which means I'm with my daughter 24/7, and that's what better time than to strap cameras up and throw mics on us than when we're having this peak personal life meet peak professional life, and that ultimately is how Road to the Top became a thing. TNT just knew, like, look at the metrics behind AEW, and here's two members of the management team. Let's follow this journey in their life, and they certainly they were persistent, and I'm so glad, because now we have this authentic representation of our lives and our backstage house at the AEW, and I really dig it.
I had a good old boy tell me one time that you can't eat the whole elephant at once, and you sometimes have to shoot the closest alligator to the boat. Is that kind of how you delegate your time with AEW, family, and everything else that you have going on? I mean, how do you find time to get it all in?
That's like the craziest saying I've ever heard. I have never heard the saying about the elephant and the alligator, but I get it.
Good old boy,
gosh.
exactly. It comes crystal clear, right? You got to shoot the closest alligator to the boat, and you can't eat the whole elephant at once.
Oh no, somebody earlier, they've been talking about, like it was juggling. And I told them flat out, like, if it's juggling, a lot of balls are dropping on the floor right now because, my priorities really did change. I priority to Liberty first and foremost. And all the things you mentioned, Rampage, Dynamite, Go Big Show, Road to the Top, couldn't have asked for a heftier season, but also I feel like Liberty is an inspiration to all of those things. I really do want to leave her a legacy, not only monetarily, but a legacy in terms of just like was left for me. About did I take what little bit of fame I have or what modicum of interest I have? Did I take that and did I inspire others? Did I take that and do good for the community? Which is, we just started the community outreach at AEW, and that's my department. And I almost am having more fun running that department than I am wrestling, just because you forget who you're wrestling for sometimes until you actually do these appearances and do these charity activations where you're crossing and seeing and shaking hands and everything. And just, her being born has probably inspired me more than ever to remain as ambitious as I possibly could be during an incredibly ambitious time.
I think what everyone can respect is that the person that we talk to now is the same guy that we see amped up on TV, whether it is Road to the Top or whether it is an AEW event. It's that genuine, and we're cutting away from the characters of old professional wrestling and really getting to know the people on different levels through so many different outlets. I can only appreciate the clarity that you bring to your relationship with your wife and your relationship in business as well. It is an inspiration to people when you see someone who breaks away from a major corporation, takes a gamble on themselves and says, you know what, I've got enough smarts and I've got good friends behind me and good management that say, I think I can do this with the help of my friends, right?
Well, I certainly, if you look back at how AEW started and to pair up with the Young Bucks who were cultivating their own business outside of any major enterprise, Kenny Omega turning heads as one of the best wrestlers in the world, Hangman Adam Page, one of the best franchise guys, and Tony Khan having the foresight to say, okay, this is the most insane period of time with free agents ever. I'm going to grab all of them. And not only that, I'm going to let them help me run this wrestling company so that's presented as a wrestling company by wrestlers, by wrestling fans. That, you look at like big seismic shifts in wrestling and major moments, and there hadn't been a major moment in 2 decades like that. And again, it could all have been fluff. It could all have been for naught, but the product followed. The product supported what we said, and now we just have to keep doing that. The metrics on AEW today are absurd. They're scary. I mean, if I'm in the ring talking to you, I'd be bullish and braggadocious about it, but they are scary because the show is becoming so popular and the homegrown characters are becoming so popular that we're doing our job, but we have to make sure that we continue to do our job. This audience is growing and we have to continue to do that. And that's life's work right there laid out in front of you.
Well, I think you guys have done an amazing job. Like you said, the homegrown characters, the pillars that started with AEW that continue, but also support from amazing veterans that have come in from around the world to say, yeah, these guys have the right idea to have other outlets, not just the action in the ring. All the best to you, to AEW, to Brandy, to Pharaoh, and Yeti Pinkerton as well. Liberty, Cody, I appreciate making time. Anytime, welcome back in the Afternoon Army.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much, and the dogs will really appreciate it. You were the only one who gave them a true shout-out, so you're a good guy. Everybody else sucks. You did it.
You got it, brother. Again, I really appreciate you making time, Cody. Love to talk to you again in the future. Thanks again.
Yes, sir. Have a great day.